Hello, Pickaholics. I have something new and different for you today. I was sent a set of lock picks from Lockpick Pros, the carbon fiber handle set. You have probably already seen that LockpickingDev, LockNoob, and Lebel have done reviews on these. I am getting around to it. Life's been a little bit busy. So I'm going to do a comprehensive review on these since I've never reviewed lockpicks before, but you all know that I know lockpicks pretty well. This is going to be a first look. Then I'm going to make some videos of the lockpicks in working and seeing how they work and hold up, and go through a few stress tests on my side for just making sure. So this is the carbon fiber set. I have opened the package, but I haven't looked at it yet. So this is just kind of like a first look and impressions of this. So first off, they called this a carbon fiber TPU set. It's magnetic. It's like patent leather. I've seen carbon fiber done a little bit better, but the stitching's somewhat straight. I've got a couple little crookedness on them. We like to see when they're professionally done, all nice and well. So, okay, so this is the carbon fiber set. This is 10 lock picks and 6 tension wrenches. And this set currently retails, no, don't do that. That's not good. For $99.35 on their website in US dollars. So inside, this is kind of, yeah, it's very similar to a trifold covered instruments kit. When we get later in, I'll bring in my Reaper set and we can go from there. So lock picks themselves, carbon fiber handles. They say that these are finished as a, come on, focus for me. Let's move it closer. I forgot what kind of finishing they did. Most of things are tumbled in this case, but they used a different kind of word. I'm gonna look at these offline. So they've been pretty well finished. There's some milling marks on them. The handles, you can see, don't quite finish off real well with the tang reveal. They do have the fault of the sparrows and the multi-picks that I consider a fault. As they put these shoulders in, this becomes a stress riser point. But this is some kind of walking hook edge type thing. That is a little short hook, but God, that is a fat tang. And oh, these are really thick. I think these are thicker than 6 mil or the 0.025. A little bit of a, I think they tried for an offset hybrid, but this is kind of more like a diamond. That is not greatly shaped. The finish is good though. I mean, I've seen worse. A quint, not finished. I don't like rakes, but we'll give them a shot. This is almost like it's actually a 5-peak Bogota, a little bit sharper. Here's a 4-peak Bogota. Is it just me, or that is not very well shaped? And you know, seeing that little bit of unclean on the carbon fiber at the tang reveals. Some of them are done better than others, not real super clean, but you know, if you're spending $100 for 10 picks, that's $10 a pick plus less for the turners, tension wrenches. This is, what is that? It's almost like a little flag. This is not kind of like a lock pick. I'd consider this more of a flag. Has a skinny, ooh, this one actually has some roughness to the edge of the picks. 2-peak Bogota. They're not real uniform. I mean, look at this. Let's go back to the 3 Bogotas. You like to see all your profile tips look exactly the same, but you see you've got a really thick one, a really skinny one, and a medium one. There we go. Let's put those there. And the frequency changes too between them. The 5 peak is much closer together. 2 peak is way far apart. And then the 4 peak is like a medium between the two. Where is, let's do a Moki Bogota because I have that right here. Just show a little bit of a quality difference. So tip's about the same, a little more rounded on the Moki, but you can see the swells between the peaks. The frequency is the way I like to call that. They're exactly the same. You've got the same curve in each one, and I don't think you see that in the other ones. Just a little bit cheap. And a snowman. And that is a really poor, oh, look at that. A little bit of a flaw. That is a really poor snowman. This is actually one of the most worthless picks out there that I've ever found. They say it's good for raking wafers, but any other pick works better than a snowman does. Is there anything else? So let's compare. Actually, you know what? Some of these feel like they're thicker than others. No, these are really, really thick. Just for example, that's a 19. Where is do I have a 20? Yeah, I do. So this is a 6mm Valerian. And you can see it, just to get a little bit more flex out of it. It's much thicker. Let's see what it actually is. We come prepared. Micrometer. Zeroed it off. We're on millimeters at the moment. Trying to do this through it. 0.62. So a little bit thicker. Let's see if there's any variance between them. 0.61. 0.65. 0.7. Well, let's get down at the end. If I push real hard, 0.59. 0.60. So we're at 25 thousandths of an inch. These are the thicker. 0.59. 0.58. 0.59. 0.59. So we're all within 6. And we have about 1.5 millimeters of scales. So it just adds a little bit of something. I guess it's like adding a little bit of shrink wrap, just a little bit of something. Handles are small. Let's see here, let's real quick. Let's zero you out. So we can see 0.025 inches. So that gets us where we were with that. Then handle size. So I pulled out a bunch of picks. Southern Specialty from Cucumber. About the same size, a little bit shorter, but a little bit wider. This width helps. I do appreciate that. The edges are a little sharp. I wouldn't have mind seeing a little bit of a runoff, getting that off. Jimmy. Bare Bones. Bare Bones has really small handles. Moki without handles. Just a huge difference. We all love the Moki. Let's get that out of the way. This is a LLT Valerian in 19. These are ones I just put these on, have them on my desk for a general purpose. I use them all the time. LLT Pro with a handle. This actually has the scales on it. And they're close to the same thickness. This is a little bit thicker. Let's try, yeah, a little bit, but you know, much more rigid when you're using 301. The other thing that they told me that this is 301, just past full hard, whatever that means. So we're gonna test that out and see. Multi-pick, this is gonna be a long video. And only Sparrows I have, I've put handles on. So this is a Sparrows Lunatic that I put a handle on. So Sparrows is a little bit longer, but a little bit skinnier. I've actually sanded that down a little bit. So we have really thick picks. They'll hold up for a while for that. You're gonna see, but the quality is a little bit off on this, but we're gonna find out and we're gonna test them. So also we get a set of 6 tension wrenches. Let's set these aside. And I'm gonna apologize because I know this is gonna be a long video. And we do have some different thicknesses. Yeah. But we don't have any teeth. They've been rounded off, so we don't have sharp edges, which we know from experience that a sharp cut edge on these tension wrenches is more effective. The teeth help a little bit when it's not, but the best thing that can be is these edges are absolutely sharp as a razor. Let's see what we've got here. Let's go back to millimeters. I just like working in millimeters. You know, the world's a little bit better. 0.8, 1 millimeter. It'd be nice if some of these were labeled. 1.23, 1 millimeter. It's hard to see this through the 1 millimeter. 0.78, a second little skinny one. So we're not having much variance. It's 0.8. 2 have been different. That's basically 1 millimeter again. 0.1 really doesn't do too much. 0.79. So we have 3 at 0.79 and a whole bunch of them at 1. We don't really get a variance of thickness. Tip sizes do change. Little skinny, fat, medium. We have the long sides, fats, shorts. We'll go through. But all in all, I'm not seeing too much variance other than it's where they're changing the thickness of this. How is that going to be helpful? I don't know. We're going to find out. So let's stop it here. I'm going to go through and do a test picking of this and do a condensed video with a talk over of it. I'd like to make this pretty extensive. I had troubles with the tension wrenches fitting into these locks because the little tips were too long. They were hitting the first pin and it was very problematic, but yeah, if you were a newer picker and you were using these, you were going to be picking that tip of that tension wrench and popping it out all the time. I did have troubles fitting picks into the small locks that you'll see. It was a master 20 millimeter and then a master number 8, I believe, and then a Yale with a very pericentric keyway. Nothing fit into that one. I ended up picking it with the little club pick. Surprisingly enough, it was working it worked well enough to pick that, but rakes and all the other picks didn't fit into these locks. I was having troubles with the picks coming in and out of the locks, that the tip profiles were problematic. Obviously on the club pick, it's a sharp angle. I noticed it more on the large hook, that I like to push the pick all the way into the front and drag it backwards and kind of rake pick as I go through with profiles just to see what pins have got the bind on them. And so I had troubles with that, and just the rakes being such a large profile too was causing issues with them as well too, being pulled in, pulled out. Picked a command lock, which wasn't much of a problem. Picked a sesame, not too much of a problem. Then I put in a 5-pin to guard. This has spool pins in it, and I had a little troubles with some of the pick profiles because it's like an M1 keyway, sharp angled off to the side. Getting picks up, these things are so fat that they were problematic that way in some of the tighter keyways. And then I went through and said, I got a Schlage generic cylinder. It's a pot metal one. That thing's really actually quite horrible. It was so bad I couldn't rake it. And I probably should have tested that before I started picking and doing the video randomly. I couldn't. I tried a Moki pick at one point, a 2-peak Bogota, and couldn't get it to pick as well either. But I did go through with this particular cylinder, and I used every single pick to pick this lock to see if it could be done. And all these picks do fit into a wide open Schlage C keyway. I wasn't able to rake any of them, but I think that was more of just this cylinder than anything else. But I was able to take those rakes and actually use them almost like as a single pin pick, and using the peaks and popping the locks open. You know, the one thing I did notice on the larger tip profiles, I couldn't feel pins. I had a lot of trouble with that. I'm so used to a fine tip pick that I can feel the pins as I go. I felt that I was setting or pushing up 2 pins all at the same time, and just the whole thing was problematic. So, do they work? Yes. Had no problem picking with them. They did work, but I think there's some room for improvement. So, first thing I forgot to mention when in the first video or first clip of this video was that Lockpick Pros sent this to me with the expressed intent for me to do an impartial review. This was sent to me free of charge. They have not given me anything, and all the opinions that I have are completely my own. That being said, so I went and you saw a little bit of video of picking locks, and so there'll be the voiceover on that. I was mildly surprised that these picks are somewhat effective. There are some problems with them. A couple of things that I didn't even notice the first time through. I was sent 8 tension wrenches, and you saw in the video that the little tips are a little bit too long. We have some variances in these that, let's see if you will focus. So we have some different sizes of the tips, and then we have 2 different sizes of each one. Some are so similar that it really doesn't matter. You've got the little undercut tip ones and then the flat tip ones. I got almost like 4 different sizes, but then they're different thicknesses too. So first thing is shortening these down. One of the other things too was I was sent 2 of the same pick. I did not get the short hook. I got this kind of Euro gemmy thingy. So as they stand, they work in open wide keyways. I wish they had thinner tangs on them. The club, I was a little bit, I could use this as a pick, and it actually worked in the video of picking a very paracentric little Yale padlock. I was surprised. So now I did go back and watch Steve's video, LockpickingDev, LockNoob's video, and Albert Lebel's video. So there's 2 different cases. LockpickingDev got a different one than the other 3 of us. We all received this trifold CI knockoff type one. All 3 other people received 20,000s or 5mm picks. I'm the only one that received the 0.6 millimeter 0.025 thick picks. I'm the only one who received 8 tension wrenches. These are the same tension wrenches that Steve got. These are the same tension wrenches that Albert got. These are not the same set that LockNoob got. LockNoob got some different looking profiles, and I believe he got 3 different sizes, and they were etched. So he got the 0.3, the 0.4, and the 0.5 thick tension wrenches. So on their website, they don't say sizing. They don't say other than it's a good steel. They pick locks. So just be aware of that. There are some cosmetic issues. I did notice that some people had scales that didn't fit. If you were to look straight down on some of their pictures or where they were side, you could see some steel sticking out. I have one pick that come on, focus. The carbon fiber doesn't sit perfectly flush. There it is. So it was just off a little bit. So there's just some minor little issues. They'll all pick. They'll work better in open keyways, like a Schlage C. This is that lock I picked. But I don't know what you're going to get. Are you going to get the thicker picks? Are you going to get the thinner picks? Are you going to get Dev's case? Are you going to get this case? Are you going to get this set of tension wrenches? Are you going to get the set that Steve and Albert and Dev got? Or are you going to get the set that LockNoob got? That remains to be seen. So that's about all my opinion on these. One of the things I am going to do, now since I have 2 picks, and I think I'm going to do a little bit more than this, but I want to see how this steel works compared to 301 high yield. So I'm going to go make a video of modifying a pick and changing the profile and see how it works, and then we'll come back and we'll talk again. See you in a bit. Okay, so I went through and I started to change the length of the tips of the tensioners. As you can see on the grinder, was using this and constantly quenching in water just to keep the temperature down. You don't want to create any kind of burn marks or heat up the metal too much. The tension wrenches really don't matter too much because you're just putting a little bit of torque on them. You're never gonna, even if they lose their temper, you're never gonna twist them hard enough, and it's not gonna be a problem at all. I know I said I was gonna do just one pick, but I ended up going through and reprofiling every pick and kind of adjusting these a little bit more. But I did leave the club pick. So I went through and I wanted to just shrink these tangs up and create different profiles. So my first thought was I wanted to put on what was called a medium undercut gem. That's basically the same profile that I have on my chili pepper pick. On the first one of those 2, kind of like, I think they were calling them like a mild hook, Euro hook or something. I don't know. It was kind of a funky one. Then I went through and I changed the other one and I put kind of like a scimitar onto it. And then I should grab the picks and then I can actually look at these. I made a offset hybrid, which is actually more of like a diamond pick out of the diamond one that was there to make it a little more accessible and undercutting to it too. You can see that once I got off the grinder with the first grind, I went through with a Dremel with a cutoff wheel and was shrinking everything and shaping everything a little bit more as you go. Reprofiled the Snowman double ball rake. Just had to make it smaller. It was so ineffective, so I created a little bit better of a peak on that. The 5-peak Bogota or 5-peak rake in this quad peak, thinned them down considerably, reprofiled them. I took the high hook and I changed it into basically a Sparrow's Euro hook. Wanted something small, thin, made all the tangs a lot smaller. On the 2-peak Bogota, I really went and really sharpened up those 2 points on there, because Bogota has pretty sharp points on it, and it makes it just nicer as it gets pulled in and out. So yep. After we get done with the Dremel of final shaping and just kind of making everything even as we go, I go through with all these picks with the hand files, and I take the burrs off of them. I refine and smooth out all the cuttings that I've done on these, make them a little bit better. I started off over on my vise. That's typically where I will do this work because it just slides in between the wood. This is a bench vise, woodworking bench vise. And picks just slide right in there, the metal, and I can do it there. I eventually realized that it was off camera, and I moved it over to my bench pin, which is something that I created just for being able to use a jeweler's saw and cut wood and metal and other things. So you can see here I'm taking a real fine set of Grobet, different profiles. I like the half round, but I used a triangle and a round file. I just smooth everything up and kind of get it in preparation for sanding. This is a process that I do on all custom picks, and if I feel like smoothing out any of the production picks that I get, I'll do the same thing too. And after we go with the filing, the shaping, then I go into the sanding on these. And on these picks, I only went up to 800. So I started at 320 and smoothed everything out. Oh, that's right. On that reach profile, I turned it into a gem. I just like a gem on the top side of it. So in the sanding, instead of using like a book or anything, I like controlling it. So I take little strips of sandpaper and I wrap them around a popsicle stick. Allows me to do everything that I need to smooth up every part of the pick profile and tang as I go through, and I found that it worked really well. So when I start with, sometimes I go with 240 depending on what I'm doing, but in this case it was all, once I do the file work, it gets pretty smooth. I go with 320, make sure that I've gotten all of the file marks out of the steel on the edges. And when I smooth the faces out, I go a little bit quickly and I just rub it across the top like I'm burnishing it. I'll never get it hot enough. You can see I put a piece of tape on my bench vise, and then the other thing too is I can lie that piece of paper or the popsicle stick down and I can run the pick over everything. From 320, jump to 400, and then I went to 800. That's about as far as you really need to go. It's really smooth, taking off all the sharp sharp edges off of the tangs, and smoothed everything out. And then after that, I did a metal polish. I also went through and I took that hard edge off of the carbon fiber with some, I think it was 800 or 1,000 sandpaper, just to smooth it off, to make it smooth. I also did find that the stuff that I pointed out in the beginning of the video that was like the gunk at the tang reveal from the tang to the handles was actually the adhesive. So I've cleaned all that off and made everything as pretty as I possibly can. And I didn't go overboard because this is a utility set. It's not a showpiece or anything. These are just made to be working picks. So, final thoughts on this. One of the things I didn't go over in the picking video was I actually enjoyed that these tips have different heights too. So they fit into different locks, even knowing, like for using multi-picks, tensioners, which are one of my favorite, multi-picks. All of them, even they're different thicknesses, but they're all the exact same size. They're much sharper, but I didn't have any trouble with the sharpness on these. The steel, it feels just like I was working with 301 high yield. So the 301 full, just past full hard, makes a whole lot of sense. Did some stress testing on these and they didn't bend. So I think we're all good with them. So now, these are the finished picks and profiles. You can actually see that on these now that the tangs are a little thinner, much smaller, made those a little extra sharp for the kinetic attack, smoothed everything out, made them so they'll fit in a little bit better. The Snowman has a more defined shape to it. And the Reach has a gem point on it. All I did was cut that off. So then the tall hook has changed to a Sparrow's Euro hook. I think that'll be much more effective. Smoothed everything out. Then this is like a round tip scimitar, a little slight undercut. And then just so you can see, for the fun of it, a little bit skinnier, but it's an undercut gem. Not quite as high as Chili, but I love that undercut on a gem. Just absolutely works perfectly. And offset hybrid. Just, there wasn't much to work with. I just sharpened it up a little bit, cleaned it up, and put a little bit more of an undercut to allow you to get into under things. So that is the Lockpick Pros Custom Fiber Semi-Custom Set. So who wants one? Who wants it? I'm gonna give these away. So what I'd like everybody to do is to put hashtag carbon fiber in a comment, and then I'll do a random comment picker later down the road. I'm not gonna make a video of it, but I'll make a post of the winner. The winner will need to contact me, and I will send it your way. I will do that probably on Easter weekend, give or take, taking a trip here shortly, and we'll see. But around that time, we'll close it and do the drawing, and one of you lucky people will get this set. If anybody international would like this, what I would ask to do is I will put $15 towards the shipping costs. If you want it, you can cover the rest. I'm gonna guess it's around $30 to ship just a single set. And we'll go from there. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. And that is my review for the Lockpick Pros Carbon Fiber set. And we will see you on the next one.